question is why? It seems like a pretty easy thing to do. You do it for most of your life. But the fact of the matter is, despite these facts, people tend to lead a very sedentary lifestyle. So even knowing these things, and a lot of this research has been ongoing since even 1999, so it's not necessarily state-of-the-art research. It's stuff that even on a subconscious level, most of us already know. Obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, things like that. And all that sort of adds up to a 40 to 50% increase in the risk of mortality. So it's a very general thing, but it's also kind of scary when you think about it, just for something simple as sitting. And here's a powerful quote by Dr. James Levine, endocrinologist, Mayo Clinic: "The chair is out to kill us." And yet most of us remain seated. And the reason, why that happens is because it's so easy to stay seated. And the effort that it takes to stand up is just enough that you're discouraged from doing it as often as you should, which the recommended amount is once every 30 minutes. So common solutions are standing desks, where you basically just stand at your desk. It's an elevated work surface. And the idea was that this is the logical alternative to sitting. However, research points that it's equally detrimental to your health to be standing all day. It causes things like spinal stress, muscle fatigue, deep vein thrombosis, other medical things. And so the quote at the bottom here is really important because it basically says that the only solution to the risks of either sitting or standing is switching frequently between the two. And that completely eradicates the risk associated with either sitting or standing. And so the solution, as described, is constantly switching back and forth. But how can that be done? Is to make it as effortless as possible. So to be sitting and to switch to standing, you can make that as effortless as possible. That will encourage it to be done more frequently. So these are some current products on the marketplace. As I was doing my research through them, I was noticing that they all have distinct benefits and advantages, and yet they all have sort of a dilemma, which is that, for example, on the left, the balance chair, it is a restful, ergonomically sound position. Your spine retains this kind of natural curve. Yet, to get in and out of that is difficult, especially for people with limited mobility, as well as to repeatedly do it. Your legs go all the way behind you. So other alternatives, the focal locus seat is a very kind of highly regarded product there. But again, to use that, you're essentially still engaging your lower body, your leg muscles to stay upright. As soon as if you were to relax your legs, you would basically collapse because you're leaning, not necessarily just sitting. And then to the far right is a three-way adjustable chair there. But the problem, again, I was finding is that you're never really either sitting and you're never really standing. This is the current office furniture market. It's a very big market, over $12 million. And currently, an interesting note is that seating systems, production has kind of surpassed systems production. So that kind of reflects the big shift in focus to seating. To kind of backtrack a little bit with this idea, the initial idea was to, if I could support my knees while I was leaning, then I would take all the weight and all the strain off my muscles so I would be able to relax in an upright position. So a lot of the sketches explore contact points and also the form of the product. And here was kind of my eureka moment, was this very rough test model, which as soon as I got into it, it sort of happily confirmed the kind of ergonomic hypothesis, which was that with a knee support, you could relax your lower body and stay upright. From there on, I went into 4 studies, little paper mock-ups, kind of explored very sculptural iterations of this idea. And then, so what my initial test model taught me was that, yes, it worked, but it only worked when it was almost tailored to my body. So the specific height at the knee rest, the specific height at the seat. So what I needed to do was sort of experiment with how can that be adjusted to keep more people than just myself. So that's what this second test model did. It was a fully adjustable. That's why so it was drilled at basically 2-inch intervals, and it allowed me to experiment with seat heights, seat angles, measurements, distances between the seat and the knee support. This is a picture showing some of the notes I was making on the model itself. And that led me to the off seat. So, a couple notes about it. The panels, it's kind of a planar construction. It allows for sort of a flatter packaging when it comes down to it. It could be made with an injection molded wood, plastic composite, as well as an AES plastic. So those parts can be molded. And on the back, it features the kind of branding because it's kind of an opportunity that while the person's using this and people are kind of walking by from the other side, they can kind of know more about the product in that sense. Here's an assembly image. The cushioning, the seat, a memory foam would be probably the most ideal. It has a good density that's not too thick, not too thin. And one of the features that through experimentation I realized was important was the adjustability of the knees. So that ratcheting on the side allows for that to happen in sort of coordination with the slot drilled through the side. And these are images with the knee braces all the way in the lowest position. And with that position, if you also drop the seat down, you can then sort of sit on this as a traditional stool. These are some, so the design also from a side view, I really wanted it to encourage productivity and sort of reflect productivity. That's why that's a forward-leaning stance. That's one thing that I was really focused on. A lot of my sketches were actually from the side elevation view to try to work out how can this thing look like what it's supposed to do and not something that is relaxing or a restful type thing. It's a productive device. These are some other views of the color schemes. And sort of looking into the future, I realized that there's applications beyond office and workplace seating. So here's an image where you have public transportation and maybe not this physical iteration, but the concept of a knee brace and a seat support could be applied to something like public transportation where you remain standing, also compress the space within the and be able to fit more people within the vehicle there. Also, personally, I play guitar and noticed that as I was playing guitar, I always wanted to be practicing with the guitar hanging. So what this does is I can be in an upright position and also practice with the guitar hanging, which is very beneficial for guitar players, brass players, things like that. Stadium seating and customer service as well, cashiers will be able to remain at eye level with the customers while also being rested in the lower body. Context shot within kind of a home office environment. And so what I really need to get to after this latest build are some things with the rigidity of the construction, which I don't think the plywood is particularly helpful for that, and other kind of details that need to be worked out for the future iterations. And that's obviously, thank you. So this model, actually, I can't demonstrate it. It's going to fall apart if I do. That's why I had this one here to kind of demonstrate the concept or concept behind it. So this one I can, that one with the way it's built.
Can I guess try it out?
Yes. So this would be me sitting, the lower body's relaxed, and to stand up, I simply lean forward, so the effort I exert is a fraction of what it is in the chair.
Is it as relaxing to lean to a stand as it is to actually sit?
In some ways it is, but also the idea is even with this design, my goal is not to have you sitting in this for 2 hours, 3 hours. It's to make it easy for you to stand up once it does get going. Because the best way to do it in some ways, but I think with perch is the common thing is that you're still engaging your leg muscles. And the difference here is that here you can relax your lower body, letting count the seat. So it kind of is a seat in some way.
Is the only difference between what we're not supposed to sit on and what we can sit on the adjustability?
The adjustability is probably and the form factors.
So what do you think this from here, material standpoint, aesthetic standpoint, what would you do next?
Materials exploration for stiffnesses would be very beneficial because the way it is there, it would need some kind of steel or integrated kind of support system. So if I could take that out and just explore the material, that would be able to withstand stiffness. That would be beneficial. And small kind of details in the form of this job.
From a manufacturing standpoint, can I get all of that out of one sheet of ply or piece of sheet material?
That was routed from 8 by 4 foot with plenty of material left over. So, yeah.
All right. this one, it kind of scares me almost, and I don't want to touch it, I don't want to push it. I like your blue and brown version much better. And the success of the balance chair is that it is so sleek, so welcoming. You're like, oh, this is fun.
Speaking, just one thing about the balancer as well. At first, right, it had these rave reviews and things like that, and then as research went on, it became kind of ambiguous whether it was actually ergonomically any more beneficial. And I was thinking, like, why is that? And one of the reasons was again getting in and out of the parts. But from a design standpoint, it is minimalist.
I think that, where I struggle with this is with your choice of sheet material. I think it's really kind of impeding your design. You know, there's only so much of the mechanics have to be exposed. I also wonder if you take a look at other manufacturing possibilities, could those front knee pads actually swivel out of the way? So I don't feel like I'm kind of getting into a closet before I do whatever it is that I'm doing. And I agree, I think that having to have mechanisms so far up on your side, I like it lower so that I'm not inside something.
I hate to say this was the wrong CNC file. I realized this was the drill went into the material. And one of the most important things was these were much lower and these are unnecessarily high.
I don't know if anybody's said it yet, but kudos on the premise and the extent of your research, and the extent of your playing through models and testing them. Wow, I mean, it's pretty tough to find a new premise around the chair that is a really strong value proposition, and fantastic job on that.
Sandro,
Yes, Mark.
one of the things that wasn't real clear from the presentation, I think it's a great concept, but in the presentation, first when I own this, what's sort of the ideal work surface or workstation for this? Does this work with regular height desks or?
It would not work. It would be designed for a standing workstation. So either some of those that were in the original images or something that you have something similar to that. So working on standing.
I wonder about that relationship a little bit because it seems that the knee pads are a little bit of an obstruction to getting out of the device. And if you had a device in front of a standing desk, it would be somewhat difficult to get in around and free.
Yeah. So I had explored centrally located knee supports where you get in and out from the side, and that has its advantages when it's at a working just like a desk. But then the disadvantage is if you're not at a desk, if you're at like a cashier or again with the transportation example, being able to access it from the front, much like a chair, I thought was a major benefit. So it's kind of each has its own benefits, so different iterations can address that.
Well, I was just going to say, that brings up an opportunity there where you actually sit on the chair and then this wraps around you. So that the motion or the weight that you put onto the seat could actually activate these coming forward. So it's not-
And one other thing is, in terms of, your comments that it's best for us to move, which it is, okay? But you've made a stationary object. Is it possible that this thing could be on wheels so that, it allows me to, because you said that the seat does actually go all the way down so I can sit at it?
Right.
So that it could be at my desk, or it could pivot around and be at the bench, or whatever, so that it actually moves with me.
What happens when you try and get into it and it's on wheels? I don't know.
Like all those things, not wait on something.
I think this thing it's a career. This is not a project. I mean, because this has to deal with huge range of issues. You've done a great job of tackling some of them. So what you end up with is a hypothesis about how to sit. It's completely untested, except that you like it, which is a promising one. I'm not saying it's not a good one, but I'm saying, boy, there's a lot, enormous amount of proof out work there. There's a lot of open issues about, like thing about mobility, whether you can actually get in and out and safely. Then there's the whole issue of how you make it. If you chose to make it like a lot of people here do, by being makeable on your foot and over there and build it, which may have very little to do with how you actually want to make it later. And then you have the aesthetic vocabulary, which is a whole conversation with pros and cons. So it's a giant universe. I think it made a great start on something that's great to hit.
Thank you, Sandro.
Sorry, I have to be shorter now because we've got one more person person coming in and